What up, peeps? Welcome to the Nerd Alert Podcast. I'm your boy and your host, Chico, and it is season four, four, episode 5 of that podcast. I thank you for being here once again. Appreciate you stopping by and tuning into my rants and raves and reviews and all of the above. Once again, much appreciated. Today's discussion will be a little diverse. We're going to be going over Beetlejuice. Not going to say it a third time. Not bringing that shit on me. Also, Transformers One, as well as Terminator Zero, and going to go over some randomness on the news. So let's get this shit started. Starting now. So let's talk Beetlejuice. All right. Now, I had the pleasure of watching the OG in theaters many moons ago, and it is a staple, right? The original was just dark, comedic greatness, right? Introduced us to a young Winona Ryder. Michael Keaton was at his prime. It was, again, darkness. And from there, we had Beetlejuice cartoon, which was even greater in my honest opinion. Like, that was one of the things I ran home to. So when they announced this sequel, I was just like, why? Like, it really didn't need a sequel. And given sequels that have been happening lately, they're mostly unnecessary and usually fail. I'm talking to you, Anchorman. But Tim Burton was back. The cast was back. Michael Keaton was back, the important factor there. So in my opinion, I was like, all right, they can't lose. And honestly, they didn't. The movie itself was very enjoyable. If you haven't seen it, this is going to be a spoiler-filled review, so bear with me. Here's a quick synopsis. According to Wikipedia, 3 generations of the Dietz family return home to Winter River after an unexpected family tragedy. Still haunted by Beetlejuice, Lydia's life soon gets turned upside down when her rebellious teenage daughter discovers a mysterious portal to the afterlife. When someone says Beetlejuice's name 3 times, the mischievous demon gleefully returns to unleash his very own brand of mayhem. Yeah, so very loosely there. So here, again, a lot of fun. I'll go through the highlights. The cast, again, was great. The chemistry with everybody was where it needed to be. Cinematography looked good. It kept a lot of the vibes from the original movie. Where the special effects were practical for the most part. I'm pretty sure they stayed away from CGI. And if they had any CGI, it was pretty, well, yeah, there were some CGI parts, and it was, it fit. It wasn't like too on the point. But Michael Keaton would stole the show anytime it was in any of the scenes, as did Catherine O'Hara. Winona Ryder was good. I really enjoyed Jenna Ortega, which I really don't always, quite honestly, I don't find her as captivating as most people do, especially my daughter. She loves her. I really don't. I enjoyed the twist with Jeremy Fraser. That was pretty cool. I, for some reason, didn't initially catch his twist that he was dead. Like when they picked up the book, I don't know why I didn't catch on to that. I don't know why. I do feel like here's the downsides to things. There was too many plot lines. Very, very underused Monica Bellucci's character as Beetlejuice's ex-wife or wife, actually. That thread, they could have had so much fun with that, and it was just left to like. I mean, it was just so underused. William Dafoe was over the top and a lot of joy. He could have been utilized more. I hated that there were plot holes, like the fact that Lydia was raised by. Why is it not coming to me? Alec Baldwin, and I just watched the damn movie and I know their damn names. Sorry guys, I suck here. Maitlands. I just had at the end of Beetlejuice, the Maitlands are clearly influencing and looks like and alluded to that they're raising Lydia. And I wish they would have touched on that and they just left that behind. Also, we never really touch on Lydia's mom, you know. Clearly, Delia is her stepmom, and they mentioned it in the first movie. They mentioned it here, but we never talk about her mom or what happened to her mom, which is another plot hole I wish they talk about. Um, Even her ex husband, you know, he dies in the Amazon, and they have this reunion. But that little reunion felt very just quick and short lived. Felt like there should have been more of a dramatic moment there, and that was kind of just dropped and just underwhelming. You know, there was a portion with an extended dance sequence or song sequence, which was cool for a minute, and then it just kind of got dragged out. Um, Overall, the movie went on a little too long, and because there was just too many threads. Really, really could have had fun with Monica Bellucci's character. Like that could have been so much fun, and utilize the uneasiness that it was causing Beetlejuice, right? And they just didn't. You know, it was cool seeing the dynamics between the family, between the Dietzes now, and you know, a little, you know, diving into the underworld a little bit more was kind of cool too. The Soul Train part, I know, is getting a lot of shit online. I felt like that was cringy, honestly. Like that was just it was dumb. That was one of my least favorite parts, also. But overall, the movie was enjoyable. There were a ton of laughs through from the beginning to the end. Just too much going on when it could have just been refined and maybe two parallel storylines going on. Also, let me circle back around. I really enjoyed what they did with Charles's death, and that's what actually brings the whole family together. And the fact that, you know, if you don't know, the actor that played Charles, Jeffrey Jones, was indicted and arrested for, you know, child pornography years ago, which is unfortunate for everyone, right? Like that sucks. Like that's just shit. So he was erased from the movie, as he should be. But they still kept his image on the tombstone, which I was surprised they even did that much. Like everywhere else, yeah, even the beginning was really cool. You know, they used claymation for a flashback, and I loved it because it was typical Tim Burton claymation. That looked really cool. And even throughout the movie, he's been chopped off, and they used that. But the tombstone still showing his face, his actual face, was a little off-putting to me, and I don't know why they did that. But still clever on the other parts. Overall, like I said, very enjoyable movie. Not perfect. It was a good sequel. Unnecessary, I think, but it's still killing it at the box office. You know, I think it just hit 300 million. Well deserved. It was supposed to go to Max. I'm glad it went to theaters and we got the experience of it in the theaters again. I recommend watching it. I would say I'd go with maybe a 3.5 out of 5. Again, just because missed opportunities, plot holes, etc. But still, had some fun and some laughs. Go watch it. Check it out. All right, now let's dig into some Transformers One. We're talking about these guys right here. What? Motherfucking Optimus Prime. Well, not exactly. Orion Pax, that's where it starts. Um, so before we go forward, spoilers are ahead. Dip out if you haven't seen the movie yet, because they're ahead of you. I'll be transparent. When I first saw this trailer, I wasn't happy about it. I love Transformers, have forever. I've watched just about every other iteration of it on television and on the movies, including those last terrible Michael Bay movies. And I'm talking fucking The Last Night, which is bottom of the barrel, and things like Armada on TV. Like, you know, so there's been some shit, right? We've had plenty of options. Anyways, so when the animated property was announced and it was coming back, you know, skeptical. I was like excited, honestly. And then I saw some of the initial footage. And I was like, okay, this is a little more kid friendly than I wanted. Wasn't really digging the character designs. at first, so really skeptical, but willing to give it a shot, just like I do anything else. So glad I did. I shit you not, this is the best fucking Transformers movie that has ever come out. And yes, I'm saying ever. I love the 84 movie because that's the movie for me, and I love it for what it is. But when I say this is the perfect movie, it is the most well balanced, cohesive, like story driven movie to date. From start to finish, you have such a great flow of story and characterization. So essentially, you've got Orion Pax, aka Optimus Prime, and D16, aka Megatron, before they become said names, right? This is them before everything. We've never, I mean, in the comics, there's been some backstory, um, but this is the most we've actually been given about them. It's a whole new lore to Cybertron, also, and the Autobots and the Decepticons, like just a whole new lore to that whole world. And it's so diverse. But we also get to see these two characters in particular grow to who they are in such a very fluid way. Like you get to see Orion Pax turn into Optimus, and those are really two separate people. Orion's a punk ass kid, teen, young adult, young man. Or Optimus is a fucking leader, soldier. Two different entities, but you see him become that person. You see those seeds of possibility, of potential, of that wants. Like it's just not a flip of the switch. Through the movie, from start to finish, you just see that rise. So at the beginning of the movie, you see there. I'm not gonna lie, like it's a little goofy at the beginning, but it's meant to be. Like there's a lot of slapstick, there's a lot of comedy, there's a lot of stupid fucking moments. I mean, they're meant to be. It's meant to show you how immature each of these characters are, how jovial they are, how absent-minded they are, how like unaware they are of the situations that are ahead of them. But then you start seeing them gradually realize what the real world is, and they start settling into their roles, and then they've become who they are. D16 is just this wide-eyed miner who looks up to all these primes, in particular Sentinel Prime, played by John Hamm. He idolizes him. He thinks the world of him. And lo and behold, we find out that he's this traitor. He betrayed all the primes. And one of his idols also is Megatronus, who he takes his name after, whose face looks like the Decepticon logo, and that's what they base their logo off of. Um, and that shatters his world. It breaks him. It literally breaks him. And you see that's the moment that changes him, and he starts to dive into that Megatron role. But it's heartbreaking at the same time. Like you feel these emotions for these characters. You really see it and you feel it. And I'm so tripped out to say it out loud and see it because you get it as you're watching the movie. It really goes from being a kid's movie to Bay action to really something else. And I admire them for it. Um, these animated movies recently have just fucking knocked it out the wall. I'd say from the Spider Verse just started a trend. They took animation and storytelling to a whole different level. The theater game has changed with that. Tales of the Ninja Turtles too. That's those two movies for me right now are two of the most top two animated properties, as well as I'd say comic properties along with Transformers. Like these three right here, top tier, top tier. But yeah, so I'm sure this movie will get a lot of hate from the OGs, and I am an OG. Like I said, diehard OG when it comes to Transformers. But I appreciate what's being done here. I appreciate what they've done with it. You even get characters like Bumblebee. Seeing him kind of be, it's a goofier take on Bumblebee than we're used to because he's um, he's been through it. Like you see, he's been kind of placed in isolation, and isolation does things to the mind, but you also get to see his capabilities. Um, you know, in the movies, he's been silenced. He loses his voice, and you see a running joke throughout the movie. He talks a lot, and throughout the movie, they're trying to quiet him and silence him to the end, where he's slowly being reduced in how much he says. And I feel that's obviously a joke to that point. But great casting. Chris Helmsworth was Optimus. Brian, like I said, Brian Tyree Henry as Megatron. Scarlett Johansson was Alita. We had Keegan Michael Key as Bumblebee, killed it. Those are our main stars, right? But we also have Steve Buscemi, who shows up as an awesome Starscream, and they really tripped me out in what they were able to do with Starscream getting his noticeable voice, right? John Bailey Soundwave. Lawrence Fishburne shows up as Alphatron. Cool fucking moment. John Hamm just plays a cool, but you can tell he's this douchey Sentinel Prime, very just egocentric. Um, and there's so many freaking Easter eggs throughout the movie. You'll spot so many Autobots. But the action, like you're not going to skip a beat with any type of action. It's very fun action, and it really starts escalating into Bayverse type shit. It really does. As I mentioned before, you're going from like a kid level movie, and it really escalates into the Bayverse that we're used to in such great ways. But I'm really hoping that these go further. I really do hope that this starts into another franchise. Um, but yeah, as I was saying, you just see the evolution of these characters. You see the evolution of our main two. They start off as brothers, best friends, and they dissolve because their ideologies just start going into different ways. They split, and you see why. You understand why they separate into these different factions. Um, and then you see you see Cybertron starting to fall apart. You get little inklings of that. And it's cool. Like I said, really, really cool. The animation was top tier. Storytelling was top tier. Um, the direction from this one was directed by Josh Cooley. Awesome. Paramount Pictures did great with this. Um, physically aside, you also see our characters evolve into forms that we're more used to as well. By the end, our guys do look like their namesakes. So Optimus looks like Optimus, and Megatron looks like Megatron, Bumblebee, etc. Everybody looks like who they're supposed to. And we get our famous quotes. We get our rollouts. There are two after credit scenes, so make sure you stay tuned for that one. The last one felt, I don't know. I felt like it was kind of a weak after credits. I probably could have been included in the movie itself, but the birth of the Decepticons, they brand themselves with the Decepticon logo and lay claim to the name of Decepticons. So we see the birth of the Decepticons. The Autobots really don't take their name yet, but we see that grow. The iconic lines of, Chris Hemsworth starts taking on, if anyone has, basically beef with Cybertron, bring it, they're ready for him. So the next phase will probably be the beginning battles of the Decepticons and the Autobots, which will then, I'm sure, will lead to where they get to on Earth. But yeah, I highly praise it. I'm not skipping a beat and saying that it is the best Transformers property to date. It really is. They are freaking killing it. Coming up is Transformers versus GI Joe live action. You got to step up to the plate. I'm telling you. Let's see what you can do. Let's see what you can do. 5 out of 5 for me. All right, let's talk Terminator Zero on the Netflix. Loved it. This is a animation series on Netflix. If you haven't watched it, then stop, because again, we're getting into spoilers. I'm telling you, spoilers are ahead of you. I preach about it. I like all these '80s properties, right? I think there's just so much greatness in them, but we drop the ball every time we try to either reboot them or honestly the reboots kill it. And I think with Terminator in particular, what happens is they try to keep with the original lore when there's so much more that can be explored in that universe, right? You've got a whole ass apocalypse going on. John Connor can't be the only one affected by it, right? There's got to be some other fucking factors in there. So the premise in this one is in Japan, Malcolm Lee has been developing another AI system that is intended to compete with Skynet. As Judgment Day approaches in 1997, Lee finds himself and his three children pursued by an unknown robot assassin. That's right, an assassin. So yeah, at this point, then we are now diving into Mr. Malcolm Lee. Um, I really dug this series because again, we're looking at other characters being chased, being persecuted, being possible opponents to Skynet, and this series in particular, is more dramatic. It's more story driven, which can be seen as a bit of a downer to some. I will honestly say that I take a couple of points away from it because it is more story than action. And I do feel with Terminator, although the action scenes are great, it needed just a little bit more. Like the balance, I don't know, it felt a little off. Story's great, and I'm probably sounding hypocritical or just stupid. I don't know, but the action scenes just need a little more. But yeah, so Malcolm Lee is this scientist, and he's got this AI going on, and something just doesn't seem right about him. Right at the very beginning, he's like, "How does he know so much? How is he so smart? What's up with him and his kid? What's up with his kid's babysitter? Um, why are they so important? How do they just know so much?" It turns out they're from the fucking future. Turns out that his babysitter is basically a prototype Terminator, but not a Terminator. She's an AI program. She's got her own personality. She's the next fucking wave. Then you have a Terminator that's come back, played by Timothy Oliphant, and he's got a whole ass personality, which is different than Arnold's. And I'm kind of glad also. I initially was like, man, hopefully they'll do like an Easter egg with Arnold's like T100 body, and they didn't. And I'm actually okay with that, or no T1000s or anything like that. So there was some minimal fan service, and that's okay. Uh, but yeah, it was cool to see the evolution of Skynet and the apocalypse in from a different aspect. You know, Rosario Dawson played Kokoro, which is the AI conflict. Like, is it going to actually enable Skynet? Is it going to oppose Skynet? What do we got going on? What's going to happen? What do we have as a catalyst from this? It was great. I'm losing my train of thought here. I lost my train of thought. It's only 8 episodes. They're about 30 minutes each. Um, we dive into enough characters and get enough background where they're all properly developed, so we don't lose much of anything. Um, we do dive a lot with Malcolm, and there's a lot of intricacies and a lot of time spent to find out where his headspace is and why he's really trying to decide on whether or not he's going to. Because the story begins, the AI is enclosed. It's in a closed space. He's got an enclosed server. He doesn't know whether it's the catalyst for Skynet or if it actually will be opposing force. By the end, though, he chose right. He releases it, and it's not. It's a whole new timeline. They've created a whole new timeline, and we don't know what's going to happen. Not only that, his Borg is out there out and about as well. We've got a soldier from the future here helping out his kid. He has been murked, um, but it's been great. The finale was kind of open ended, so don't know if it's been. I'm looking now, and I don't see any type of news regarding a sequel, but it does have the possibility for a sequel. I would like for there to be more. Honestly, I would love there to be more information regarding what happens now. What did they create? What type of timeline is splintered from here? Um, you know, it's just an interesting concept of what they've been able to do. Now they're just showing this relationship between humans and machines and where it's developing. You know, there's such a hatred towards machines as the show starts to culminate towards the end, um, versus vice versa, right? Where machines are dominating, right? But now the humans are after these machines. But it's pretty cool. I give it a honestly a 4.5 out of 5. And now I'm only deducting a little bit because of the action, as I said before. But otherwise, a great show. I really hope that we get a sequel and we're able to see more of what happens now. What's happening now with this AI out and about. Judgment Day, man. It's a bitch. Oops. Turn you up, bro. And now for the news. I gotta give me like a little paper and start doing it like a real news broadcaster. That's gonna be on the goal list for next season. Get in the budget. I gotta talk to production, and if I had somebody, I'd probably do that, but I don't. Um, let's talk news. First up, Netflix had a big event recently where they dropped a shit ton of news regarding all their upcoming shows and movies, including behind the scenes for like things like Stranger Things. George, use your words. Stranger Things, the last season, Sandman season 2, which I'm really stoked for as well, along with a whole bunch of different other properties and trailers. A good chunk of which I've posted before, so go back in the feed and if you want to see a lot of those trailers, we've got them posted. So feel free to go back and look over those. A lot of potential on Netflix coming up. A lot of potential and viewing from this one right here. So I'm going to tell you, a lot in store for us. This week we had two very anticipated shows start up. Agatha on Marvel Disney Plus started their first two episodes, dropped on Wednesday. Penguin on HBO Max dropped the first two episodes on Thursday. Those reviews will be coming up pretty soon. Two totally different shows. Shows getting great reviews so far. I've been hyped for both for different reasons. Penguin in particular, really excited about that. I am looking forward to really great seasons out of both of these properties. Looks like the Terminator, which I just spoke about, literally the anime anyway. James Cameron's moving forward with that property. Hopefully, he's going to entice and put some new exciting elements to it. Run with the momentum of Zero and do something with it totally new. Do it, man. Fucking do it. Let go of the past. Let's start over. Let's just make some new shit happen. No details regarding what so far, but he's working on some shit. Honestly, you might want to hold your breath also, or don't hold your breath because he said that about Avatar, and where are we at with Avatar? Yeah, exactly. Ready or Not, one of my favorite horror movies in years, with the awesome and gorgeous Sam Weaving is getting a sequel. What they're going to do with that, I don't know. I'm hyped. What could they do with that? The crew behind that did such a awesome job with that movie, like in every single aspect. It's a perfect film in my eyes. A perfect film in my eyes. Um, so I'm excited, but also worrisome because I don't want them to fuck it up. Not lying. Don't want them to ruin the original with a shitty sequel. So it's getting a sequel. Now I have a dread of doubt hovering over my head. What did I do myself? Ugh. Watch Dogs, popular game. I never got around to playing with it. I think I played the demo and never actually played the full game. And nothing against the game. It's kind of when I started fading out of gaming. I love gaming, and I just stopped playing games. But that recently wrapped filming, so we've got something to look in store there. The concept for Watch Dogs is really cool. So hopefully the movie can be dope as well, or will be dope as well. Actually don't even know who's behind it. I feel like that would have been awesome in the hands of like Neil Blomkamp. Um, it looks like who is running Matthew Turi. Don't know who that is. I don't know who's starring. Well, that's not a whole lot of news, is it? Oh, there we go. Tom Blythe from Hunger Games and Sophie Wilde, Talk to Me, are set to film. Oh, okay, there you go. So that wrapped filming. On the comic side of things, we've got a new series starring with Cap and Red Hulk squaring off, presumably to kind of set us up for the upcoming Captain America movie. I mean, that's what they do. So getting us preemptively ready for that flick right there. Void Rivals, Transformers, and GI Joe are gearing up to finally meet. Those seeds are starting to start to settle in towards the end of this year. GI Joe #1's right around the corner. It looks like the seeds for the crossover will be in GI Joe #2. Um, Looking forward to that. Those books are phenomenal. Um, some of the best shit out there, honestly. The Inner John universe is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Also crossing over, our boys in the X-Men and Uncanny X-Men are about to butt heads. If you haven't seen the solicitation, they have recaptured basically the Capcom versus Marvel like versus screen, and it's our 2X teams going at it. Personally, I'm going for the Uncanny X-Men. That's Rogue's team. They're my #1 team right now and #1 comic. The book's great. It's great. The other books are just kind of lackluster at this point, but that book's phenomenal, and I'm hoping they kick their ass. And then also from the House of Ideas, we're going to get our Ultimate Guardians of the Galaxy pretty soon here. That was kind of dropped in solicitations as well. And then right around the corner, one of the from DC, one of the things I'm hyped up for is the Absolute relaunch. Absolute Batman is already pre-orders are sold out on that. If you didn't sign up for those pre-orders, sucks to suck. Absolute Superman, Absolute Wonder Woman. I'm hoping it's a really cool reiteration update to the properties and they stick with it. Don't pull a Earth 2 where it's fucking cool and then you take forever between each volume and then just say forget it. Earth 2 is great. That was such a shitstorm. Like, you guys dropped the ball on that. But again, they're trying their it's their take on the Ultimate Universe, which they've been trying for years. The problem with DC is they just can't stick to their guns. They're always wanting to reboot and reboot and reboot and reboot and reboot shit, but not reboot shit. Reboot, but let's stick to the old. Reboot, but let's stick to the old. Like, just fucking stick to your guns. Let's see what you can do with this and let it ride. Let it ride. Let it fucking ride. But yeah, man, that's it. That's all we got for the news. Once again, I appreciate you. Don't forget, the shirts are still up for grabs. Links in the bio if you're interested. They were designed by moi. Version 2 of this is coming soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And as always, thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I really do appreciate you. Don't forget to do all the jazz that comes with the social medias. Hit the likes, comment. Let me know what you liked from the episode, what you didn't like, what I can do to update things. And of course, share, subscribe. Keep me afloat, guys. Keep me afloat. And on my toes. In all, I appreciate you for tuning in. Till next time. Deuces.